How Betrayal Led to a Fortune, My Journey to Success. Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. Julian's voice shook in my ear like it finally understood gravity. Maya, please, don't do this. Not tonight. I stood outside the downtown pitch night venue, watching founders glide past the glass doors like the world owed them applause. Inside, a giant screen waited behind the stage, already loaded with someone's slides. My slides. My diagrams. My sleep. On paper, I was a junior product designer at a medical device company. Boring, safe, the kind of job Julian used as a punchline. In reality, I spent my days making tools that kept people alive. At night, in my small apartment, I designed Aurora Living, discrete home sensors for seniors, built to catch the fall no one wanted to talk about. Julian loved telling people, I'm the visionary. Then he'd tilt his head toward me and add, Maya makes the pixels behave. People laughed. I laughed too, because that's what you did when you were trying to be loved by a man who treated credit like oxygen. Tonight, I had a folder in my bag that felt heavier than it should have. Bank emails with full headers, an LLC registry printout, screenshots of Slack messages, and a personal guarantee with my name typed at the bottom like a dare. If I walked in, Julian's story didn't just wobble. It cracked open in public. A security guard held the door for me, and the warm air smelled like cologne and ambition. My stomach flipped the way it always did before a big presentation, except this time the product wasn't on trial. I was. My phone buzzed. Nadia, I'm inside. Are you actually coming? I stared at the reflection of my own face in the glass, tired eyes, set jaw, and realized I wasn't scared of losing Julian anymore. I was scared of losing myself again. Julian's whisper came through the call, smaller now. I can fix this. I can explain. I tightened my grip on the folder and stepped toward the door because explanations were what he used to steal time. He didn't know the projector was already synced to my laptop backstage. He smiled at the crowd, unaware my evidence was cued behind his first slide. From the outside, Julian and I looked like a clean story. He was the charming founder with the bright smile. I was the quiet fiancé who kept him grounded. We met at a sleek co-working space in the creative district, the kind with cold brew taps and neon signs telling you to hustle. You design medical stuff? He'd asked, genuinely impressed. Mostly tolerances and failure modes, I said. He grinned. I need you in my life. You sound responsible. That word felt like a compliment then. Later it became the box he kept me in. Aurora started with my grandmother's fall. I sketched a sensor that looked like a decorative wall plate, but listened for impact patterns and sent an alert to family. Julian stared at the sketch like I'd handed him a lottery ticket. This is it, he said. We'll help people and make real money. We worked at my kitchen table. I wrote specs and tested prototypes. Julian booked meetings, practiced pitches, collected business cards like trophies. Whenever I tried to talk about medical-grade reliability, he'd say, Babe, don't kill the vibe with worst-case scenarios. Nadia used to tease me for over-documenting everything. You could keep receipts for breathing, she'd joke. Julian would laugh, then turn it into a critique. She's anxious. But it's cute. I told myself I was lucky, handsome partner, big dreams, a path out of my cramped apartment. I didn't see that every cute comment was a tiny downgrade, training me to accept less. The tiny humiliations were so small I could pretend they were accidents. At dinners he'd introduce me as Maya. She's very smart, like, in a technical way. If I corrected a number he'd wink and tell everyone. She's my compliance department. The first red flag was a shared folder I suddenly couldn't access. The design files are in there, I told him. He barely looked up from his laptop. Permissions glitch. I'll fix it. 3 days later, he did. Inside, half my work had been moved into a folder labeled Julian Drafts. When I asked, he kissed my forehead and said, Relax. Investors like one voice. I didn't realize his one voice plan already had my name erased. The first time Aurora stopped feeling like ours, it was over a simple email. Julian had booked a call with an assisted living chain, Brighthaven, our first real shot at a pilot. I sat in my small apartment with a notepad, a prototype sensor taped to my wall, and the nervous kind of hope that made you clean your kitchen twice. Julian dialed in from the co-working office. I heard the hum of espresso machines behind him. We're thrilled, he told the client, warm as honey. Aurora's fall detection is seamless. No cameras. No stigma. I leaned toward my laptop. And the calibration can be customized per resident, I added. There was a pause. The client's voice turned careful. Sorry, who is this? Julian laughed. That's Maya. She helps with details. I felt my cheeks heat. Details. Like my work was garnish. After the call, I asked, why didn't you tell them I designed the sensor? Julian sighed like I'd asked him to carry groceries. Because titles confuse people. They invest in a face. What if they want to talk about compliance? They won't, he said. Trust me. 2 days later, the Brighthaven pilot mysteriously stalled. Julian told me the procurement head went on leave. He shrugged, already pivoting to the next shiny lead. But late that night, as I searched our shared inbox for a spec sheet, I noticed something. An auto-forward rule I didn't create. Brighthaven's domain, at brighthaven.org, was being routed to an address I didn't recognize. I clicked, my heart beating loud in my ears, and saw the first line of a thread that wasn't meant for me. Then I scrolled. I tried to tell myself it was normal startup chaos. I even drafted an apology email to Julian in my head, like my hurt feelings were the real problem. But the forward rule had a creation timestamp, 2:17 a.m., 2 nights before the call. Created by Julian at Aurora Living Co. Destination, J. Cross. Private at protonmail.com. Who forwards a partner's customer emails to a burner account at 2 in the morning. I took a screenshot, then exported the email as Emil so the header stayed intact. It felt dramatic. It also felt necessary. What would you do if the person you loved started hiding your future from you? Then I saw an email thread Julian never meant me to read. The thread was dated, stamped, and deadly. Brighthaven's procurement lead had written, "We like Maya's technical approach. Can she present to our board?" Julian's reply sat underneath like a knife, sent 9 minutes later. Maya won't be attending. She's no longer with the project. No explanation. No warning. Just removal. When I confronted him, Julian didn't even pretend surprise. He stared at my screen, then at me, as if I'd interrupted his real life. You forwarded my emails? He asked. They were in the shared inbox. I said, voice shaking. Why did you tell them I wasn't with the project? Julian's smile appeared, practiced, painless. Because you freeze in front of people. You're brilliant, babe, but you're not presentable. I felt something detach inside me, like a thread snapping. A week later, at an industry mixer downtown, he proved it wasn't just talk. The room smelled like expensive perfume and venture capital. Julian pulled me toward a group of investors and clinked his glass. Quick update, he announced. Aurora's prototype is ready. I built it in partnership with a small team. I waited for my name. He didn't say it. One investor turned to me anyway. And you are? Julian answered for me. Maya's my fiancé. She's supportive. Supportive. Like I was a chair. Then he opened his laptop and displayed our sensor interface on a tablet, my interface. My icons. My error states. Even my typo in the first draft. He'd replaced the footer, designed by Maya Patel. Now it read, Property of Aurora Living LLC. My throat went dry. Julian, I whispered, what is this? He leaned in, still smiling for the room. Don't make a scene, he murmured. You'll ruin everything. That was the moment I understood. He didn't fear losing me. He feared me being seen. I snapped photos of the slide on his tablet while he laughed with investors, because my hands needed to do something besides shake. The next day, I opened the file history in our design tool. My components were duplicated into a new project titled Aurora_final_JC, created at 3:04 a.m. My access removed. He hadn't just taken credit. He'd built a door and changed the locks. On his slide, my signature appeared on a document I'd never signed. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on my couch with the prototype in my lap like it could explain itself. By morning, my work email lit up with a meeting request from HR at my day job. Subject line, urgent, IP concern. Julian had sent my employer a neat little allegation that I'd been moonlighting and using company resources to design Aurora. It was half true in the way poison can be half water. I tried to explain. I built Aurora on my own time. I told HR, palms sweating. The concepts are mine. I can show timelines. They put me on administrative leave anyway. Until we review, the HR rep said, eyes avoiding mine. I went home to my small apartment and opened my banking app. My savings looked like a disappearing act. Rent was due in 9 days. I ate peanut butter from the jar and tried not to cry over something so stupid. Nadia came over once, stayed 5 minutes, then stood by the door like my sadness was contagious. Maya, are you sure you're not overreacting? Julian's intense, but he loves you. Love doesn't erase me, I said. She flinched. I just don't want you to blow up your life over a misunderstanding. That word again. Misunderstanding. Like I'd imagined the email. The only person who didn't treat me like a problem was Mr. Hale, a senior designer I'd met at a conference. When I called him, embarrassed and frantic, he listened without interrupting. Then he said, quietly, if he's taking credit, he's taking paper too. Start saving everything. What do you mean? I mean screenshots don't win disputes. Audit trails do, he replied. And people like Julian always leave trails. That afternoon, the mail slot clacked. A thick envelope slid onto my floor, stamped with a bank logo I didn't recognize. The next week became a blur of cheap survival math. I listed my old iPad on a resale app. I calculated how many days I could stretch rice and beans. At 2:30 a.m., insomnia turned into doom scrolling. I searched DocuSign forged signature what to do and hated myself for needing the answer. Julian texted like nothing happened. Miss you. Proud of you. Then, 5 minutes later, don't talk to anyone about our business. People twist things. The bank letter arrived with my name beside a 6-figure guarantee. The letter said I had personally guaranteed a $180,000 bridge loan for Aurora Living LLC. I read it 3 times, waiting for the punchline. I'd never been in a bank meeting for Aurora. I'd never signed a loan. I barely had $2,000 in checking. At the bottom was a copy of the guarantee, my full legal name, my old address, my last 4 digits. Enough detail to feel like someone had been inside my life with a flashlight. I called the bank number, voice trembling. There has to be a mistake. I didn't sign this. The representative sounded bored until I said the word fraud. Then she cleared her throat. Ma'am, the document was executed via DocuSign. We have an audit report. She emailed it within minutes. Mr. Hale's warning echoed. Audit trails. I opened the PDF. It listed the signer's email, the timestamps, and the IP address used to sign. I held my breath, expecting some random hacker's location. Instead, the IP traced to the co-working space where Julian spent most nights, working late. I refreshed the page like it might change. It didn't. I forwarded the report to myself, then exported the raw email to preserve headers the way Mr. Hale taught me. I started a folder labeled Aurora Evidence and felt sick that I needed it. Julian called while I was staring at the audit trail. His voice was soft. Babe, can we talk? I miss you. I thought about the loan, about my signature floating in cyberspace like a forgery with teeth. Sure, I said. We can talk. And as he started to apologize, I quietly hit record on my phone. The audit PDF had a certificate of completion page. It listed, sent to Maya Patel, design@gmail.com. Viewed, 11:39 p.m. Signed, 11:42 p.m. Completion, 11:43 p.m. Except my Gmail showed no record of it. No inbox, no spam, nothing. So I asked the bank rep for the delivery details. She forwarded the original DocuSign notification. In the full headers, the received line showed it had been routed through an auto-forward to that same Proton Mail address. Julian hadn't just forged my signature. He'd intercepted the signing request, so I would never see it. I printed everything. The headers, the IP lookup, the loan summary. Dates, times, amounts, real life, and paperwork. The DocuSign audit trail showed the signing IP address wasn't mine. I didn't confront him with the audit report. Not yet. I needed proof that didn't depend on anyone believing my feelings. First, I drove to the co-working office and asked the front desk for a copy of my membership contract. The receptionist smiled politely. We only have Julian listed for Aurora, she said. My badge still works, I replied. She blinked. It shouldn't. That night, I pulled Slack logs from my laptop. Julian had removed my admin permissions weeks ago, buried under a platform update excuse. But my local cache still stored fragments, message IDs, timestamps, file names. I photographed the screen, then exported everything to a hard drive like a paranoid accountant. Then I searched the state business registry. Aurora Living LLC existed, yes, but there was another entity registered 6 months earlier, Aurora Living Holdings LLC. Registered agent, a mailbox service in the suburbs. Manager, Maya Patel. I stared at the screen until my eyes burned. My name wasn't on Aurora because Julian respected me. It was there because my clean credit made him look trustworthy. I asked the co-working manager for security footage from the night of May 14th. She said she couldn't release it without a police request, but she did confirm Julian had badged in at 10:58 p.m. and left after midnight. Nadia pulled up her own calendar invite history. Julian had sent her a celebration drinks invite that same night at 11:30 p.m., then canceled it at 11:41 p.m., 1 minute before the DocuSign signature time. He'd been buying himself an alibi in real time. When Nadia saw that, her skepticism finally died. He planned this, she said, voice small. He planned all of it. I nodded, because the worst part was realizing how long he'd been practicing. In the state registry, Aurora's manager wasn't Julian. It was a shell. Once you saw the pattern, it showed up everywhere. Aurora Living Holdings LLC had opened the loan, signed the guarantee, and funneled money into consulting fees paid to a PR agency. The invoices were tidy, for $1,500 here, $6,200 there, always just under the amount that triggered extra review. Nadia and I found the agency's name in Julian's forwarded emails. When I looked them up, my stomach dropped. They specialized in reputation management, which was a polite term for controlled gossip. And then I found it. A draft post, saved in a folder I'd never opened, titled _Patelang from Reliable Docs. It listed talking points: emotionally unstable, difficult coworker, steals credit, unsafe around medical compliance. My day job, my livelihood. He'd been poisoning the well so no one would hire me if I left him. Digging deeper, I found a cap table spreadsheet attached to an email chain between Julian and 2 investors I'd never met. Subject, quiet round, keep Maya out of it. They called themselves Northbridge Partners. In the attachments, my signature appeared again on a consent of members form, dated April 2nd, approving dilution of my supposed ownership. Julian had created a fake version of me who agreed to everything. A collections email hit the Aurora inbox the next morning. Payment 2 past due. Late fee, $1,250. Cure period, 10 days. My throat tightened. 10 days wasn't just a deadline. It was a countdown to my financial ruin. Nadia squeezed my shoulder. Okay, she said. No more guessing. We go straight for the throat. If he defaulted, they could garnish my wages for years. I met Attorney Brooks in a courthouse-adjacent office that smelled like copier toner and calm. She didn't gasp when I laid out my folder. She didn't comfort me either. She just pointed at the facts like they were stepping stones. DocuSign audit trail is strong, she said. LLC filing with your name is stronger. The smear invoices are bold. What can I do? I asked. 2 tracks, Brooks replied. Civil, injunction, ownership dispute, damages. Criminal, identity theft, forgery. Timing matters. I swallowed. He's pitching for seed funding in 3 days. Brooks looked at me for a long moment. Do you want private justice or public truth? I wanted both. I wanted my name back and my life back. I wanted him to feel the humiliation he'd packaged for me like a gift. But I also wanted to stop the bleeding. If he got funded, he'd bury me under contracts and PR and lawyers. So I chose the battlefield he loved most, a room full of people with money and short memories. Nadia pulled strings with the event organizer. Mr. Hale connected me with the venue's AV tech, because apparently Mr. Hale collected favors like others collected stamps. The plan was simple. Let Julian start, then replace his vision slide with the audit trail, the registry, and the bank guarantee. I practiced my breathing the way I did before medical device design reviews. Slow in, slower out, keep your hands steady. Brooks explained it in plain language. He used your identity as collateral because lenders trust clean profiles. It's classic. The only unusual part is he did it to someone sleeping next to him. I asked, if I expose him publicly, can he sue me? He can try, she said. Truth is a defense. Documentation is your shield. Mr. Hale called while I sat in my car outside Brooks's office, hands trembling. Remember my warning, he said. People like him win in private. They lose in records. So we built the reveal like a product launch, sequence, timing, Backups. Nadia rehearsed the handoff with the AV tech. I uploaded the evidence deck as final_deck_v3. If Julian noticed, it would be too late. The whole plan rested on one terrifying idea. Let him talk first, then let the facts interrupt. Brooks slid me one form and said, "Choose your timing wisely." Julian sensed me moving before I said a word. That was his talent, detecting threats the way sharks detected blood. He showed up at my apartment unannounced, holding my favorite takeout like a peace offering. His smile looked almost real. "Can we reset?" he asked. "I've been under so much pressure." I didn't open the door all the way. Pressure doesn't make you forge my signature. His face froze for half a second. Then it smoothed again. "What are you talking about?" I watched him pretend. I almost admired the audacity. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Investors get spooked. If you've been telling people weird stuff, it could hurt us." "Us," I echoed. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a document. "Sign this release. It says you won't make defamatory statements about Aurora. Standard." I stared at the paper. 3 pages of legal language designed to muzzle me. "You want me silent," I said. "I want us protected," he replied, and his hand touched my wrist like ownership. For a moment, my body remembered the good version of him. The one who brought me coffee, who said we'd build a future. My throat tightened. Nadia had texted earlier, "Don't go alone." Julian leaned in, voice sweet. "Come to pitch night. I'll even thank you on stage. Just stop this." I thought of the PR file calling me unreliable. I thought of the bank guarantee with my name like a trap. I slid the release back toward him. "No." His eyes hardened, and the air changed. He tried every version of Julian in 10 minutes. Wounded fiancé, visionary under attack, furious man with something to lose. When the sweet talk didn't work, he lowered his voice until it felt like a threat. "You know I can make this ugly," he said. "People already think you're unstable. You want that to be your brand." I forced myself to ask, "Did you pay someone to post about me?" His eyes flicked, a microsecond to the side. Confirmation without a confession. I kept my phone recording in my pocket, the way Mr. Hale had taught me. Capture the tone, the phrasing, the pattern. Evidence wasn't just documents. It was behavior. And I realized he wasn't asking for forgiveness. He was asking for permission. When I refused, Julian's smile vanished and his voice turned cold. The morning of pitch night, Brooks filed an emergency motion requesting a temporary restraining order against Julian using my identity. She also demanded expedited mediation, fast enough to stop him from taking new funds under my name. The courthouse mediation room was beige, windowless, the kind of place where egos went to suffocate. Julian arrived in a tailored suit, looking annoyed rather than scared. "Really?" he said when he saw me. "You dragged this into court." Brooks didn't flinch. "We dragged it into daylight." A bank representative joined by video. Then, unexpectedly, Mr. Hale walked in and took a seat behind me like a quiet shield. Nadia sat on my other side, hands clasped, eyes wide. Julian's lawyer whispered to him. Julian rolled his eyes. "This is a misunderstanding," he said out loud. "Maya's emotional. She gets ideas." Nadia's head snapped toward him. "Don't," she warned. One word, sharp as glass. Brooks connected her laptop to the room's screen. "We'll start with the objective record," she said. "Then we'll discuss feelings." Julian smirked. "Fine." While the mediator read procedural notes, I checked my phone. The venue's AV tech texted, "Deck is loaded. Your queue is ready." My pulse hammered. 2 rooms. 2 stages. 1 truth. Nadia leaned toward me, eyes on the projector cable like it was a fuse. "If he lies again," she whispered, "we let the receipts speak." Julian kept glancing at the clock, like the real meeting was happening somewhere else. At the venue, he was about to pitch to investors who didn't know he had built Aurora on a stolen identity. In this room, he still thought he could charm his way through. Brooks started with a timeline on the projector. April 2nd, forged member consent. May 14th, DocuSign execution from Julian's device. May 16th, PR invoice paid. May 20th, HR complaint emailed to my employer. The mediator cleared his throat. "Mr. Cross, can you explain why Ms. Patel's name appears as manager on the Holdings LLC?" Julian shrugged. "It was temporary. Administrative." Nadia leaned forward. "Temporary identity theft?" she said, sharp. My phone buzzed again. AV Tech, 30 seconds. I tasted my pulse. 2 rooms were about to collide. Nadia looked at the projector cable and whispered, "This ends tonight." Brooks clicked the first file, the LLC registry page with my name listed as manager. Julian laughed, too loud. "That's just paperwork. I put her down because she's detail-oriented." Brooks didn't look at him. She clicked again, the bank guarantee with my signature block. The bank representative spoke, voice cautious. "Our records show execution via DocuSign on May 14th at 11:42 p.m. Brooks zoomed in on the audit report. "And the IP address traces to Crossworks Co-working, 3rd floor." Julian's smile twitched. "So? People share Wi-Fi." Brooks nodded like she'd expected that. "Correct. Which is why we subpoenaed access logs from the co-working provider." She displayed a chart, device IDs connected to that network at 11:42 p.m. One device name stood out, Julian MVP. Nadia gasped softly. Mr. Hale stayed still, eyes on Julian like he'd seen this movie before. Julian's lawyer leaned in, whispering urgently. Julian shoved him off and stood. "You're ruining everything." He snapped at me, the first real anger breaking through. "You ruined it," I said, surprised by how steady my voice sounded. "You used my name like a tool." Julian pointed at the screen. "You wouldn't have made it without me. You hide behind your little safe job." Brooks clicked one last file, the PR invoices and the draft talking points calling me unstable. The mediator's eyebrows lifted. The bank representative went silent. Julian's face went pale in a way money couldn't fix. He lunged toward the laptop, hand outstretched, as if he could erase reality with his fingers. Brooks pulled up the raw email headers next. She highlighted the message ID, the route, the forward rule that sent the DocuSign request to Proton Mail. Even the bank rep sounded unsettled. "That forwarding address," the rep said, "was not disclosed to us." Julian's lawyer tried to object. "Relevance." Brooks smiled without warmth. "Relevance is the difference between an accident and a plan." Julian snapped. "She doesn't understand business. She'd still be drawing in her apartment if I hadn't dash." Mr. Hale finally spoke, calm as a metronome. "You mean if you hadn't stolen her work and her credit?" Then he moved for the laptop. Julian lunged for my laptop, but Mr. Hale blocked him. The mediation ended with the kind of quiet that felt violent. Julian's lawyer demanded a recess. The bank representative requested a fraud review. Brooks filed for an immediate freeze on Aurora's accounts pending investigation. Julian walked out without looking at me, jaw clenched so tight I thought it might crack. An hour later, my phone exploded with notifications. Pitch night had started. Someone posted a shaky clip from the audience. Julian on stage, smiling, saying, "Aurora is built on trust." Then, according to the comments, his slide deck glitched. People watched my evidence appear behind him. My name on the loan, his laptop ID on the audit trail, the PR document calling me unreliable. You could hear the crowd shift, the way a room changes when it realizes it has been lied to. Julian's voice in the clip rose. This is sabotage." And then the video cut, but the internet didn't. By midnight, strangers argued about me in threads I never asked for. Some called me brave. Others called me bitter. My hands shook so badly I dropped my toothbrush twice. The comments were brutal in a way only strangers could be. People demanded my LinkedIn. Someone posted my apartment complex by mistake, then apologized like that fixed it. Brooks told me to lock down my accounts and place a credit freeze. Nadia helped me change every password while I shook so hard my fingers slipped off the keys. Julian's PR agency didn't stop. 2 anonymous posts popped up in a founder forum. "Beware Maya Patel, she fabricates fraud claims." The phrasing matched the draft doc we found, word for word. Mr. Hale emailed me one sentence. "This is why we keep paper." I forwarded that to HR too, along with the audit report and the bank letter. If my job was going to be collateral, I wanted my employer to see the full truth, not Julian's version. 2 days later, my employer called me into a conference room. I expected to be fired. Instead, my manager in HR sat across from me with printed screenshots. "We reviewed the evidence," HR said, careful, "and we reviewed your personal project files. The core designs predate your employment here." My manager exhaled. "We're not terminating you, Maya. But this has created risk. We can't keep you in a role tied to compliance review right now." It was a demotion dressed as mercy. My chest tightened anyway. I nodded because pride didn't pay rent. That afternoon, Brooks called. Julian's investors pulled out, she said. The bank is pursuing him for fraudulent execution. His counsel wants to settle. Settle? I repeated, dizzy. They're offering you full assignment of Aurora's IP and a cash payment to cover damages, Brooks explained. In exchange, you agree not to pursue punitive claims. I laughed once, dry, disbelieving. He stole my work and wants me to sign peace terms. Brooks's voice stayed steady. Peace is a transaction. You decide the price. Mr. Hale introduced me to a device company that actually cared about elder safety. They'd seen the pitch night clip, then dug deeper. Their VP emailed, "We'd like to meet the real designer." Nadia helped me build a clean portfolio, no drama, just results. I walked into a bank financing meeting a week later with my own deck and my own name on every slide. When the settlement finalized, Brooks forwarded the confirmation. I stared at the numbers until they stopped looking like math and started looking like oxygen. At settlement, Brooks refused to let me sign anything vague. She made Julian assign all rights, all prototypes, all domain names, and the Holdings LLC itself. She also insisted on a written statement retracting the complaint to my employer and a clause barring further contact. Julian tried to negotiate like it was a game. "She's overpaid as it is," he muttered. Brooks didn't look up. "Then you should have chosen a cheaper victim." The new company didn't offer me a fairy tale title. They offered me something better: authority, my name on the patent draft, a real budget for testing, a team that asked my opinion and waited for the answer. The wire hit my account, and I finally slept without shaking. I didn't become a superhero after that. I became a person with scar tissue and boundaries. I stayed in therapy because betrayal rewired your brain. My therapist said, "Your nervous system learned love equals risk." I hated how true it felt. I learned to stop apologizing for asking basic questions like, "Can I see the contract?" and "Why is my name on that?" Aurora didn't turn into a billion-dollar fairy tale. It turned into something better, a real product line inside a company that funded proper testing, paid me fairly, and put my name on patents without me begging. I still worked hard. I still doubted myself sometimes. But I stopped mistaking humility for invisibility. Nadia and I rebuilt our friendship slowly. She admitted, "I wanted to believe Julian because it was easier than believing you were in danger." I understood, even though it hurt. We didn't always doubt people because we didn't love them. We doubted because the truth would force us to act. As for Julian, the last time I saw him was in a courthouse hallway. He looked smaller, like his charisma had been repossessed. He didn't apologize. He just said, "You could have handled this quietly." I answered honestly, "You should have lived quietly then. If you're in something that feels off, document it. Save the headers. Export the logs. Write down the date and time and what was said. Not because you're paranoid, because you deserve proof when someone calls you crazy." Betrayal built my future only because I refused to let it erase me. I also did the unsexy aftermath work no one makes movies about. I pulled my credit reports. I filed an identity theft affidavit. I set alerts on everything. I learned how to say no without explaining myself. The weirdest part was grieving the version of Julian that never existed. I mourned the man I thought I was building with, not the one who built with my bones. I kept the evidence folder, not because I wanted to relive it, but because it reminded me that my instincts were real. If you're the one doing the work while someone else collects the applause, you aren't being humble. You're being used. And the moment you start keeping records, you start keeping yourself.